At 23, Marcus and David got the same job offer, same starting pay, same degree, same pile of student debt. By 28, Marcus was debt-free and building real wealth. David still owed almost the exact same amount he started with. No layoff caused this, no medical bill. No big mistake at 30. The whole gap opened up in their first 5 years of getting a paycheck. Same jobs, same raises, totally different results. If that sounds impossible, stay with me, because the reason is not luck, it is math, and it is hiding in plain sight. The first 5 years after your first real paycheck are the most important 5 years of your entire financial life. Not because you earn the most money then, you don't. It's because of what those years quietly set in motion. 3 forces are working in the background right now, whether you notice them or not. The first is lifestyle anchoring. The habits you build with your first real paycheck become the baseline you measure every future raise against. The second is compounding runway. Every dollar you invest at 23 has decades to grow. A dollar invested at 30 has already lost years it can never get back. The third is debt momentum. Debt either shrinks fast in these years or it quietly grows heavier. And which way it goes depends on choices you're making right now, today. Here's the number that should scare you a little. By year 10, even if Marcus and David get identical raises after year 5, the gap between them is not small. It is not thousands of dollars. Stick around, because I'm about to show you exactly how big it gets, and why. Section 1. Let's start with lifestyle anchoring, because it moves first, and it moves quiet. Whatever you spend in your first year of real income becomes your baseline, not a guess. Studies on spending habits show that your starting expenses predict your expenses 10 years later with striking accuracy. If you rent the nicer apartment, lease the newer car, and eat out 4 nights a week at 23, that is not a one-year choice. It is a baseline your brain will defend for the next decade, even as your income grows. That's the trap. Most people think a raise means more room to save. But if your spending rises right alongside your income, the raise never actually reaches your bank account. It just reaches your lifestyle. Now let's talk about compounding runway, because this one is pure math, and math does not care about your feelings. Money you invest at 24 gets roughly 15 more years to grow than money you invest at 34. 15 years sounds like a long time. It is. At a normal market return, that 15-year head start alone can be worth over $100,000 by retirement. Same amount invested, same return. The only difference is when you started the clock. That gap has nothing to do with how much you earn later. It is locked in the moment you begin, or the moment you delay. Last is debt momentum, and this is the one that turns against people the fastest. Interest does not care whose side it is on. It compounds for you when you invest. It compounds against you just as hard when you owe. A small starting balance, left untouched at a normal interest rate, can double in size in under 8 years without a single new charge added. That is not a spending problem. That is a math problem, quietly running in the background of someone's life. So here is what is really happening in those first 5 years. Your spending gets locked in. Your investing clock either starts or waits, and your debt either shrinks or multiplies on its own. 3 forces, same 5 years. Wildly different outcomes. Section 2. Let's run the actual math, because numbers make this real. Picture one starting point, a $45,000 salary, an $8,000 student loan, same job, same paycheck. Now we run that same starting point through 3 different paths for exactly 5 years, and nothing else changes. Path 1 is aggressive paydown. This person throws every spare dollar at that $8,000 loan. No extra spending, no investing yet, just debt, gone, fast. By year 2, the loan is paid off. For the next 3 years, that same money goes straight into savings instead. No raises needed, no lucky breaks. Just order of operations. Path 2 is minimum payments plus investing. This person pays only the minimum on the loan, the smallest amount allowed, and puts the rest into an investment account starting on day 1. The debt sticks around longer and quietly grows a little from interest. But the money going into the market gets 5 full years to compound instead of 2 or 3. Path 3 is minimum payments plus lifestyle creep. Same minimum loan payment. But instead of saving or investing the extra, this person upgrades their apartment, their car, their weekend spending. Nothing reckless, just normal-looking choices. By year 5, the loan is barely smaller than where it started, and there is no investment account at all. Same salary across all three, same 5 years, same starting debt, no layoffs, no emergencies. No one made a huge mistake. And yet by year 5, the gap between path 1 and path 3 is already tens of thousands of dollars. Not because one person earned more. They didn't. Not because one person got lucky. They didn't. The gap comes entirely from timing and order, from when debt got paid, when investing started, and when spending crept up. This is the part most people miss. They assume a wealth gap this big must come from a bigger income, a bigger mistake, or a bigger stroke of luck later in life. But run the math side by side, and none of that shows up. The entire gap is built in the first 5 years, from the same paycheck, moving in 3 different directions. That's what makes this window so dangerous. It doesn't look risky while it's happening. It just looks like normal life. Section 3. If there is one decision that shapes the first 5 years more than any other, it's the car. Almost everyone makes this choice in year 1. You get your first real paycheck, and suddenly a shiny near-new car feels not just possible, but earned. You worked hard. You deserve it. So you finance one, maybe $30,000, maybe more, with a loan stretched over 5 or 6 years. It feels small on paper. A few $100s a month, but this single decision quietly becomes one of the most expensive choices most people ever make, and almost nobody treats it that way. Here's the real cost. That near-new car does not just cost the loan payment, it costs interest on top of the loan. It costs full insurance instead of basic coverage. It costs faster depreciation, since new cars lose value quickest in the first few years. Add it all up over the loan term, and that affordable monthly payment often totals $40,000 or more by the time the car is paid off. Now compare that to buying a solid used car for $12,000 in cash or a small loan, and investing the difference every single month instead. That difference, invested from year 1 instead of spent on a bigger loan, can grow into more than $100,000 by retirement, assuming a normal market return. Same starting salary, same 5 years. The only difference is which car got picked in year 1. This is why the car decision matters so much more than people realize. It is not really a transportation choice. It is a compounding choice. Every dollar that goes toward loan interest and insurance premiums is a dollar that never gets the chance to grow in the market. And here's the part that stings the most. The near-new car does not even feel like a mistake while it's happening. It feels responsible. It feels like a normal adult decision. That's exactly why it's so easy to walk straight into it, year after year, without ever running the math. One car, one decision, made in year 1, before most people even have their financial footing. And yet it can be worth more, or cost more, than almost anything else they will decide in their entire 20s. Section 4. The car is just the first domino. 3 more decisions fall right behind it, and each one quietly adds to the gap. The second decision is housing. As income grows, most people upgrade their apartment faster than their paycheck actually supports. A $200 jump in rent feels harmless. It's one extra dinner out, caught somewhere else, you tell yourself. But that $200 a month, invested instead over just 5 years, grows into roughly $17,000 by year 10, and far more by retirement. The apartment doesn't just cost rent. It costs the version of your future net worth that never got to grow. The third decision is the credit card balance. This one moves fast, and it moves quiet. Carrying just $3,000 on a card at a normal credit card interest rate costs hundreds of dollars a year in interest alone, money that buys nothing, builds nothing, and grows nothing. Left untouched for 5 years while only minimum payments are made, that same $3,000 balance can balloon toward $5,000 or more, even if not one new dollar is charged. It's the debt momentum from Section 1, showing up in real life, in real numbers. The fourth decision is the one that feels the most harmless of all, the treat yourself raise. You get a $5,000 raise, and it feels fair to enjoy it. New phone, nicer vacations, a little more takeout. Nothing about it feels reckless. But if that pattern repeats with every raise for 5 years straight, and none of it gets redirected into savings or investing, the cost is not small. Redirecting even half of each raise instead could mean $50,000 or more sitting in an investment account by year 10, quietly growing the whole time. None of these 4 decisions, the car, the apartment, the credit card, the raise, look like mistakes while they're happening. They look like normal life. That's exactly the problem. Nobody sits down and decides to fall behind. It happens one reasonable sounding choice at a time, stacked across the same 5 years, while someone else, earning the exact same paycheck, makes 4 different choices instead. By year 5, these decisions have already written most of the story. The raises after that barely change the ending. Section 5. Let's put real names on this, so it stops feeling like theory and starts feeling like real life. Marcus and David grew up like brothers. Same neighborhood, same college, same $45,000 job offer at 23, same $8,000 in student loans. For the first 6 months, their lives looked almost identical. Then year 1 happened. David financed a near-new car for $32,000. He moved into a nicer apartment, $300 more a month than he needed. He put a few purchases on a credit card and paid the minimum. And when his first raise came in, he treated himself. A new laptop, better trips, nicer everything. Marcus bought a used car for $11,000. He stayed in a modest apartment a full year longer than felt exciting. He paid his credit card in full every single month. And when his raise came in, he redirected half of it straight into an investment account. Same paychecks, same 5 years. 4 completely different choices, made quietly, one at a time. By year 10, the gap is no longer small. Marcos has around $85,000 sitting in investments, and his student loan has been gone for years. David's investment account is close to empty. His student loan, still not fully paid, has actually grown, thanks to the credit card balance stacked on top of it, and a car loan he refinanced twice to afford another new car in year 7. By year 20, the gap has stopped looking like a gap and started looking like 2 different lives. Marcus is sitting on roughly $450,000, most of it built from decisions made before he turned 30. David is still carrying debt, still living paycheck to paycheck, despite years of raises that, on paper, should have made him comfortable. Same starting salary, same starting debt, same 5 years to work with, no emergencies, no layoffs, no dramatic mistake at 35, just 4 ordinary-looking choices, made early, compounding quietly in opposite directions for 20 straight years. That's the part that should really sit with you. David never made one big mistake. He just made 4 small ones, at exactly the moment they mattered most. Section 6. Now let's check if Marcus and David were just a fluke. One lucky outcome and one unlucky one. So picture a second family, starting from the exact same numbers, just to be sure. Priya and Diane. Same $45,000 salary at 23. Same $8,000 in student debt. Different city, different jobs, but the identical starting line as Marcus and David. Diane made David's choices. New-ish financed car, bigger apartment sooner, a credit card balance she told herself she'd get to later, and every raise went straight into a better lifestyle instead of savings. Priya made Marcus's choices. Used car, paid mostly in cash. A modest apartment held on to a little longer than felt fun. Credit card paid in full, every single month, no exceptions, and half of every raise, redirected into investing before she even saw it in her checking account. By year 10, look at the numbers side by side. Priya has around $88,000 invested, her student loan long gone. Diane has almost nothing saved, and her original $8,000 loan, thanks to a credit card balance stacked on top, and 1 car refinance, now sits close to $11,000. Same starting debt, higher balance, 10 years later. By year 20, the split has only widened. Priya is sitting near $460,000, built almost entirely from decisions locked in before she turned 30. Diane, despite 13 years of steady raises, is still carrying debt and still has close to nothing set aside. Now put both families next to each other. Marcus and Priya, different cities, different jobs, same choices, land in almost the exact same place, roughly $450,000 to $460,000 by year 20. David and Diane, also different cities, different jobs, but the same 4 costly choices, also land in almost the exact same place, still in debt, still with nothing saved. That is not a coincidence. That is what happens when the same 4 decisions get made in the same 5-year window. The names change, the jobs change, the paychecks even change a little. But the math does not care who you are. The choices are the variable. Everything else, in the end, is just noise. Section 7. So where does this leave you? That depends on where you are right now, and the advice is different for each stage. If you are before the window, still in school or holding your first job offer, you have the biggest advantage anyone can have. Nothing to undo yet. Lock in your baseline now, before your first paycheck ever hits your account. Decide on a modest first apartment before you see the fancy option. Plan to buy a used car before a dealer shows you something shinier. Set up automatic investing from paycheck 1, even if it's a small amount. You are not fixing habits. You are choosing them, fresh, before they choose you. If you are inside the window, 0 to 5 years into your first real paycheck, the good news is you still have time, but not endless time. Look at your 4 decisions right now, today. Is your car payment eating a huge slice of your income? Is your credit card carrying a balance month to month? Did your last raise go straight into new spending? Pick one of these and fix it this month, not next year, this month. Every month you wait is a month of compounding you cannot get back. If you are past the window, 5 or more years in, here is the honest truth. You cannot get back that early compounding runway. Money you could have invested at 24 will never fully make up for lost time, no matter how hard you push later. That is real, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. But here is what still works. Paying off debt aggressively still saves you real money, starting today. Investing starting now still beats investing 5 years from now, even if it can't fully catch up to starting at 24. And cutting one costly habit, the car, the apartment, the credit card, the spent raise, still redirects real dollars toward your future instead of away from it. The first 5 years are powerful because they compound the longest, but every year after that still compounds too. It's just smaller. Starting today will always beat starting tomorrow. That part of the math never changes, no matter which stage you're in. Section 8. Picture Marcus and David again, but this time, picture them in the same room, at the same age, 38 years old, standing side by side. Marcus walks in relaxed. His mortgage is manageable. His investment accounts have been quietly growing for over a decade. He is not rich by luck. He is not rich by some huge salary jump. He is just further down a path he chose 15 years ago, one ordinary decision at a time. David walks in exhausted, still paying off a car, still carrying a credit card balance he swears he'll clear soon, still waiting for the raise that finally makes things feel easier, the same way he's been waiting since he was 23. Same starting salary, same starting debt, same first paycheck at the same age. 2 completely different lives, standing in the same room. And here's the part that should really stay with you. Neither one of them got here through one big moment. No lottery ticket, no disaster. Just 5 years of small choices, compounding quietly in opposite directions, long after either of them stopped paying attention. So here's the only question that actually matters. Forget Marcus. Forget David. Look at your own life right now. Are you in year 1 of your first real paycheck? Year 3? Year 5? Wondering where the last few years went? Whichever year it is happening right now, whether you're watching closely or not. The car you drive, the apartment you're paying for, the balance sitting on your credit card, the last raise you got, and what you did with it. Those are not small details. Those are the 5 years that decide which version of 38 you're walking toward. The good news is, this window doesn't ask for a bigger income. It doesn't ask for a lucky break. It just asks for a few decisions, made a little differently, starting today. So which 5 years are you actually living in right now? Both options work well here. The script is fully outlined, so a full prose draft is a natural next step. But if you already have a strong sense of the visuals, jumping to the prompt batch keeps things moving in parallel. Which would you like to do first?